How do you balance spending time with your children while the pull of your passion projects compete for your time? This is an awesome question, and I'm trying to think where to start with it. A real typical problem is to have kids and then all of a sudden you lose time. Like you lose this massive amount of time that it's almost incomprehensible. And me and my wife are kind of weird. We're like a little bit anti-social or loner-ish, and we have no family where we're from. So we don't have any of this, like we don't have like natural built-in babysitters and whatnot. So you lose this massive chunk of time. What ends up happening for a lot of people is whatever they're used to doing pre-kids no longer works with the kids, because like to make a painting requires, I need hours, and now you no longer have hours at a time. You only need those hours at a time though if that's what you decide is important. Now there's kind of two ways to look at this. You could look at it as like, okay, cool, you need to get babysitters and stuff. I don't like any of that because one, I don't need hours at a time to do anything. I hate hours at a time. I cannot focus to save my life. And then on top of that, I am not going to pay money so that I can make stuff. Like to me, that it's not going to work for me, and I don't care. That's the setup. If you embrace reality, the reality is you now have very little time. You go like, okay, well, how can I make stuff given the time I have? And then you do this other thing, which is kids think parents that make stuff are cool as shit. It doesn't matter what you make. So if I'm like sitting at the table making music, they want to take my earbuds off and listen to the thing that I'm making. Or they want to listen to it while I'm making it. And if I'm editing a video, they want to see what I'm doing. If they see my face in a video, they want to watch it. Which means that if you're doing stuff that's interesting to kids, you can do it in their environment. So like working is hard. Like I'm doing like work from home. That's difficult. Like that's not great to have them banging around. I can't do this with them because they can't focus. But there's a lot that I can do. For me at least, the other thing is like I work in micro bursts in general. And I work in ways that make sense with the amount of time that I have. So like I'm doing this live at 4 o'clock. In theory, I'm at work still, but I kind of know that by 4 I should probably have things wrapped up. So unless an emergency pops up, I can do this. It would be really difficult if I had to schedule this outside of work. And I probably wouldn't do it unless I did it on my lunch break and I made this my lunch break. So I embrace the reality of like, these are the times when there's open space on the calendar. What's a thing I can do inside of that time? And that's been my model for about 3 or 4 years now. And the other thing I've discovered is I can apply it to actual graphic design work. And so like the way I kind of work is like there's a more powerful computer down here. So like when the kids first go to bed, I might run downstairs and do something that needs a more powerful computer. And then once they're asleep, I go upstairs with a laptop and I do stuff that doesn't need as powerful a computer. So I just work around it. But the thing is, I try not to drag the kids into it. But it's just I do these little bursts. Like when I make photography, that doesn't take more than a half hour to generate hundreds of images. Like when I do the abstractions. So it doesn't eat up their time, and they'll come out and want to help. Or they'll just hang out. Like I'll sit on the stoop making photos and they'll be doing whatever they're doing. Or a lot of times like when I'm making music, they're at the table drawing. And then, or they're drawing and I'm like, oh shit, I should be drawing right now too. This is awesome. I suppose it would be really, now I was gonna say it's supposed to be really different if I was like a working artist, but if I was a real working artist, it would just mean my free time would have to be used differently, but not my creative time, I assume. But because it's not like I make a living doing anything besides graphic design, then it's just super important that those other things should be awesome. They should make life better. They should be fun to do. They should be energizing. And that's maybe the big difference. Is like, I don't do shit that's a drag. Like, I don't take time away from my kids and family to do hard shit. You know what I mean? I use time with them to do cool stuff. To me, that's the balance. And like I talk to people a lot about this because they want to start having time again to paint, and it's like, you're not gonna have time again. Like, it's not gonna happen. So the new question becomes like, how do you paint with the time that you have? How do you either adjust your methods or adjust your expectations, whatever, just your goals, so that you can make use of that time? The basic model I use is that like you want to have your tools, whatever materials you're using, your time, whatever's available, and the way that you're thinking about it in alignment. So like tools, time, mindset. And if you get those three things working, you can work in almost any situation. So that would be my thing. Like, I don't think I do stuff that really actually does take away from time with kids and family and whatnot.